Okay, Inspector Calls. We're into the second act, and here is where we're about to get into Gerald. Okay, we've just had Burling re-enter again after being off stage for quite a while. It's worth noting he's still angry at the inspector, but also that the inspector has now begun to cut in over the top of him. Okay, to cut in over the top of him. This is something that he continues to do, basically showing his authority over Burling. He doesn't want to listen to him. When we get into Gerald, again, Gerald tries that same tactic that he did with Sheila, where basically he's not lying but going, where did you get the idea I knew her? Okay. And we start to have the conversation. He met her at the Stalls Bar at Palace. We didn't think you meant Buckingham Palace. We've got, essentially, it's collapsed. The relationship clearly between them has collapsed now into bitterness. They're throwing sarcastic comments at each other. Anyway, the inspector brings them back, as he so often does when they go off on one. What we get is him bringing out that the bar he was in was a favourite haunt of women of the town. Mrs. Burling is genuinely shocked by the idea that there are women of the town in Brumley. This again shows a great deal about her morality, or her fake morality, if you like, what she sees as important. And she and Burling basically try to hide Sheila from this. Anyway, it carries on, and Gerald starts to talk. He doesn't want to stay there, he says, because, talking about those prostitutes, I hate those hard-eyed, doe-faced women. I hate those hard-eyed, doe-faced women. As a modern reader or audience, that is very difficult to get past. In fact, sometimes it's cut out of productions because of that. It just essentially paints Gerald as a misogynist, a woman hater, and particularly a hater of prostitutes because of the way they appear. So our best thing is, as well as the fact of how it turns us against Gerald, is to think about his obsession with appearance, because that's immediately juxtaposed with a girl who was quite different. She was very pretty, and that meant he stayed. It's worth noting that he has very genuine emotions here. To realise that she's dead. He's very genuinely upset, which is again important when we're thinking about his relationship with her. We get the bit about her looking young and fresh and charming. Fresh, what an awful word that is. I'm not entirely sure. I hope I'm not entirely sure what he means by that. It doesn't sound great to us, really. And Gerald isn't doing himself any favours here. We get the Alderman Meggerty business, which again is another example of, again, corrupt authority. Everybody knows it. Nobody does anything about it. Mrs. Burling points out that is staggered by the idea and says, we are learning something tonight, which is kind of ironic because it's the wrong thing that she's learning. She's learning about one person in authority who's a womanizer and drinks. Sheila says a line that again is generally cut out of most productions you'd hear, but very interesting. Everybody knows about him. A girl I know had to see him at the town hall one afternoon and she only escaped with a torn blouse. He's essentially a potential rapist. That's what we're being shown here. The level of authority we have here being corrupted. Anyway, Gerald tells a story about how he goes over, calls it a cry for help, and saves her. They go to the county hotel. All she wanted was to talk, a little friendliness, nice little idea there to show you Eva's character. That's what situation she's in at that point. We get the detail about her that backs up with the things that have happened to her, the shop and the works and everything at this point. She wanted to talk to herself because she felt I was interested and friendly. It's all very important, but remember, this is Gerald's perspective. So even though it gives us an idea about her, we don't have to completely take it as real. She's hungry. They meet up again. He has some rooms, and so he lets her have it. Do notice that he's not even paying for the rooms. He has them anyway. You might even notice that that his friend has asked him to look in them and use them if I wanted to. Use them for what? Well, I'll let you think about that. A bit that many people like to pick out. I want you to understand I didn't install her there so I can make love to her. Many people object to the word install that he uses, make it sound like she's an object of sorts to be installed, like a washing machine or something. He says, he's constantly trying to make the point, I didn't ask for anything in return. I didn't do this. I didn't push this. Sheila, what should say to him? She became your mistress, said Gerald. Yes, I suppose it was inevitable. Why? Because she was young and pretty and warm-hearted and intensely grateful. A pretty despicable line, really, in many ways. Is it inevitable? Well, no, he could have stopped it. It's still an abuse of power, and he just sees it as inevitable when two people are like that. Inevitable because she's so grateful for him, because he became important to her. Well, what about him? She was a woman, she was lonely, as the inspector points out. Burling tries to protest. He doesn't get very far before the inspector cuts him off again, as so often happens. He's really got no power at all left in this room at this point in time. Sheila and the inspector want to know, were you in love with her? He says he didn't feel about her as she felt about me. We get this sarcastic, you were the wonderful fairy prince, you must have adored it, at which he points out, I did for a time, nearly any man would have done. And Sheila says, it's probably the best thing you've said tonight, at least it's honest. A little exchange that I think makes a really good point about the way the relationship is now beginning to go between the two of them. The bitterness, the sarcasm, but Gerald telling the truth kind of turns Sheila around a little bit more. Mrs. Burling thinks this is a disgusting affair. Again, her kind of fake morality coming in again. What's disgusting about it? The fact it's an affair or the fact it's a working class girl? I'll leave you to think. And Gerald defends it, although Mrs. Burling just sticks with the idea it's disgusting. It ends, he claims that they both knew it was coming to an end. Again, it's very important to understand that he never takes responsibility. It's always, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. He never takes responsibility, he just feels bad about it. She didn't blame me at all. I wish to God she had now, is maybe the closest he gets. Okay, it's notable again that she'd lived very economically on what I'd allowed her. Again, she didn't take advantage of his money, and also the way that he talks about allowing her money. We find out she goes away for a couple of months, and Gerald is very upset by this. Okay, it's a very upper class, genuine upset, breaking apart in his language, and he wants to go for a walkabout outside. Gerald is then given the ring back before he leaves by Sheila, and it's another power thing. Again, the ring represents power. She is taking back the power by giving it to him. But she does point out that it's not because she dislikes him. It's not because he was doing anything that last year. I knew there was something fishy, he says. At least you've been honest, she says again. What she says is this. It's made a difference, that phrase again. You and I aren't the same people who sat down to dinner here. We'd have to start over getting to know each other. This is a very mature understanding of the situation. Burling tries to defend him. Okay? Again, basically, he sides with Gerald, even though Gerald isn't really on that side now, over his daughter. Just the time when you'd expect him to come up and stand up for her. Sheila, now calling him father, a bit of distance coming in, just pushes him down in the way the inspector does. Gerald does understand and asks permission to return. At this point, I think we're thinking that Gerald is leaving in the right kind of way, maybe with a beginning of a change. Mrs. Burling just says, I think we've come to an end of this wretched business, and he leaves and says, I don't think so. Again, he understands that situation.